My name is Fatoumata Doro. I am from Niger, Niamey in West Africa. I've grew up in Senegal mainly and lived in Europe and in many other countries because of my professional career. I am currently based between Ghana and Dubai, and I am the immediate past managing director of Lisco, and I'm currently a board member for EcoBank and also a board member for the David Seddon Foundation. I'm very happy to be joining a number of women who have joined in the past for Just for Women Africa.
All right. Can you tell us about your background growing up in Niger and what shapes your early dreams?
So I was born in Niger from, I'm a Pan-African woman because my dad is originally from Mali, my mom is from Burkina Faso, but they fell in love in Niger. So that's how I ended up being from Niger. Um, I'm coming from I would say lower middle class family, nothing very fancy. My dad has over 10 siblings, but he was really a fighter. He wanted better for him and for his family. So he grew the ladder from nothing to being able to send us to Senegal, where we lived most of our teenager life. Um, I don't really remember most of my Niger life, to be honest. But what I remember, the basic things is the simplicity of life. There was nothing very fancy, and you become really creative in creating toys with whatever you have. From the tomato can you find after your mom have cooked, from the clay that people use to make houses. You were really creative because you don't have the luxury of having all the toys that you could afford. But then along the line, my dad really grew the ladder, and our lifestyle became better. Um,
Before we continue, I'd like to give a quick shout out and thank our sponsor and donors for supporting our training program that empowers women to become plumbers. Integrated Legal Consult, Amayal Deborah, Pastor Lab Medical Laboratories, Rain Angels, Vision with V, Cleopatra Inquisitor, and not forgetting our media partners, Ghana Webbers.
and I grew up in Senegal, where I studied my primary and my secondary school. I I wasn't really let's say, a brilliant student like many people would imagine. I just wanted to have the basic, scorecard in school, go to school, not be the best student, not be the lowest one. I never really done so much effort in school till I got to the last 2 years of the college. And people sometimes really forget that even the most successful people have failures. So my A level, I didn't pass my A level. I was one of the very last people in my school who didn't have the A level. And I think that's really shaped how my future career professional became, because my dad really sat me and explained to me that what exactly do I want in my life? And he told me that I was a pure disappointment to him because, in an African family, how it's important to succeed college and go to university. I was more focused into being famous in school, which I was, than really having the fantastic grade that everyone should have. Uh, but the fact that I could see in my dad's face the disappointment, really, and I could see that he was really, really really sad that he put so much effort. He invested a lot in us, and he really fought to be where he is. It really changed the whole things in my life because I didn't want any more in my life to have that feeling. And I decided that I will change my life from that I really aim at higher and better, and I would be an inspiration. The next year, I had to do my A level again, and I was the top in the whole country. I was part of the top three female who passed it in terms of grade. And some people wonder how it happened. From the previous year, you are the last, and then you are part of the best. The only thing I did for 1 year was studying. Like, I didn't have friends, I didn't go out. I decided that this was my goal, and I would make my parents so proud that nobody could question anything about my smartness or my ability to succeed.
How did you get into Procter and Gamble's?
One of my teacher called me and said there is this big multinational who's coming to Senegal, and they are going to do a test, and they only want the brightest one from Senegal because they are opening their first francophone offices. It was Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble is one of the biggest multinational in the world. I mean, anyone has at least one item in his house for Procter and Gamble, from Gillette, Pampers, Always, Head and Shoulders, different products. But I didn't know who was Procter and Gamble. I just I just told my teacher, this is a fancy name. In the francophone countries, Procter and Gamble, Unilever, all these big multinational, people don't know them really. And my teacher told me, Fatou, you are so good in math. I think you should just try that. And I'm like, okay, I don't have anything to lose. Let me just try. We were over 300 students, I think, who came for the test for the interview. And I wasn't really expecting anything. I just wanted to do the test and then praying God that something will come out of it. And I got lucky. It was a mathematics test. And that's what I've been studying over the past few years. And I've been giving, personal classes on mathematics. And it's funny how really the dot connects, at some point. As long as you keep pushing and you keep doing, at some point, everything will connect. And because I studied master in that school, and because I was always the best, my teacher recommended me to go and do that test. Because for the past 2 years, I've been trying to gain an income, and I was giving math classes to different students at home, and I was also following statistic classes. It prepared me for that test, for that bigger test. I had all the acumen and all the knowledge in mathematics to pass the test. And in fact, out of the 300 people who came, we were only 6 that were taken for the next stage. And we had like probably 6 interviews before we got to the final stage. But the first step was to pass that mathematics test, which I came out with. And then along the line, we had different tests. And I had to meet my future, manager. And she was coming from UK. And at that time, my English level was really basic. But I knew that the person who was going to do the interview really speak, a British English. So for like 2 weeks, what I did is that I listed all the questions that I believe can be asked in an interview. I went to Google and I checked what are the questions that are the most asked in an interview, and I wrote them down in French, and I translate them in English, and I translate the response in English, and I learned them by heart.
By the way, if you're still here with us, we'd like to give a quick shout out to Slash Beauty. They make slash extensions, which are easy to put on and remove. Remember, when you think of lashes, think of Slash Beauty. They're a great supporter of what we do here at Just Women Africa.
Because I knew that at the interview, I would probably fail because of my English level. I got to the interview, and by God's grace, 90% of the questions that were asked for me were the questions that I've learned by heart. And that's how I got the interview. It wasn't really that I was, you can say maybe I was smart, but then I was smart in doing the work before, but not on that point. And she was like, oh, wow, you really speak very good English. But she didn't know that I learned things by heart, because I knew that I could do the job maybe, but the language shouldn't be a barrier for me to get the job.
Okay.
And um, we got to the last stage of the interview, because there was 6 interview. And she said, you know what, we are not going to give you the job because it was a supply chain job. And I really felt that supply chain with mathematics, it just fit perfectly. I mean, it's number crunching. She said, no, when I listen to you, when I listen to the way you express yourself on what you do outside a school and outside work, you are really a brand builder. You are not a supply chain person. And I asked her to give me example why. So at that time, I had also another business. I was very busy. I think the advice I would give to any young person is be so busy when you are young that there is no space for even breathing. Be busy, because that's the only time in your life where you could learn and try and fail. Because later it's going to be very difficult. When you have kids and you are older, you don't have that luxury of time. So I was the most busiest person you can ever have between the two master, my small jobs. I also had another job. So it was a job where I put all my saving into buying different laptop. And I rented a small space, I think a 50 square meter, where kids can come after school, pay a token, and they could play games on different laptop. That was my business. And the interviewer then said, just having the idea of having such kind of business and the way I was marketing it, because I put the shop or the business in front of a school. And at the end, whenever the kids would come out, I would be giving them flyers. She was like, this is the marketer thinking that you're having. A supply chain will not think about that. And that's how I got the job. That's really how I got the job. It's all the accumulation of things I've been doing outside the normal life that has given me that job. And that's how I entered the multinational world with Procter& and Gamble.
You have broken many barriers, including becoming the first female MD of Arla Foods and the first female MD of a textile company in Ghana. How did you navigate those first?
I think my motto has always been take something that no one wants. So instead of looking at jobs that everyone is looking for or looking for countries that everyone wants to go, I always look for the opposites. And it has worked very well for me because it's better to be a fish in a pond than being in a big sea because you will stand out no matter what. So all these jobs, when they came, I should normally not should have taken them because the job of Arla Food, I was based in Dubai. I had a really nice job. I was working in Procter& and Gamble, and Arla Food came to me and said, "Okay, you have to go back to Nigeria. We are hiring you, but we are sending you to Nigeria." I mean, come on. Nobody who's living in Dubai want to leave Dubai and go to live in Nigeria. But I took that job. I took that job because of the opportunities that I could see, long in the long term. I could see that if I go back to Nigeria and I build with my VP the biggest factory of dairy in Nigeria and I expand in Africa, I can't tell that same story in Dubai. How many are we in Dubai doing that same things? I will be just unique and my currency will be bigger and the opportunities and the facility to creating something bigger would be enormous. And I took that job. It's the same for Vlisco. I was working in Arla, pretty good job, MD for Arla Food for a long time. I've been with them for a number of years. There was nothing really that makes sense that I should have taken Vlisco because Arla from a business size is way bigger than Vlisco. It's a bigger multinational than Vlisco. But I took it because I always think the end of the story. Which story can I tell when I finish the job? So I don't think, okay, I take the job. I think about, okay, in 5 years' time, which story can I tell? And my story was if I take it, I stay 3 years, I can say that I have been the first female MD in 60 years of that industry. And I have been the only female for a company that sell product dedicated to women. They only had men. And I could really change the narrative. I can bring transformation. I can make this brand more global than local. I can be a fair MD and do the right things.
What were some of the biggest challenges in leading major organizations across different industries?
Oh, there is so many of them. So many of them. And it's all depend on maybe the market and it depend on the category. I'll just give maybe 2, 3 of them. I think one is knowing how to navigate matrix organization. The more you are in a bigger organization, the more complex is the organization. And you need to know who does what, who has power, who you should listen to, how to navigate, where do you get the sponsor, really matrix organization. The complexity of organization is important to understand. And then the second point would be for me is to have clarity on exactly what you want. Because all these organizations have different processes. They have so many complex activities and things you have to do that you have to follow. But if you don't know what you want while you are working for those organizations, then you will be, you will be stagnating. So you need to understand how the processes really work in those organizations so you can thrive. And then maybe the last challenge is I mean, it's still the same. It's stakeholder management, really. At the end, one of the biggest challenges in all the organization for me remains stakeholder management. If you know how to navigate within the organization, you know who does what, who has power, and who you have to please somehow to deliver your job, then you will know how to navigate.
Okay. What would you say to women who feel that gender limits their leadership potential?
Oh, I think it's a fact. It's a fact that gender really play a role in recruitment and basic things like, um, I will give you an example. One of the first things I did in my last MD role is that I told to all the headhunter, when you are submitting CV to me, I want 50% of the CV to be female, regardless of the job. I don't want you to give me 10 CV and they are all men. No, figure out, get women job, women CV and provide to me. So, but in general, most of the company, when they're hiring, they get more men CV than they will get female CV. So yes, there is gender issue in recruitment. I mean, there is issue when you are recruiting female. But then what I will tell women is to look at it also from a strength perspective. One is to not be shy, to not shy away of talking about this. There is a challenge when it's come to recruiting women. Talk about it. Loud about it. I am very loud about it. And everybody know that when it's come to women, I always speak about it. Not because I think it's because I'm a woman, but because I think that the more you hire women, the more you have a chance to create a society that is fair. And if the society is fair, then it brings equity and the world become a better place as well. That's from that perspective that we should all look at it. Not that we want to please someone's daughter. We are looking at how we drive growth in a business and how we can make sure that our society is fair. The more girls see more women in top position, the more they believe that it's possible and they are more ambitious. And if they're ambitious, they create income. If they create income, they make their villages better. They make their society better. That's how we should look at it. It's just a number game. It's not a gender, me pleasing someone because of the gender, not at all. So I will tell those women, be aware that it exists, but then don't think that this should hold you back. Really, be clear of what you are bringing on the table. Build your asset and your brand equity in a way that nobody can challenge it, regardless of your gender. So don't come on the table and say that I'm a woman, hire me. Come on the table and say, okay, I have 20 years of this. I know this X, Y, Z. I can develop, I can create 300% growth in your business if you hire me tomorrow. It's a number game. It's not a gender game. And that's what they should keep in mind. Don't really think that is holding you back. It's even a differentiation because we know that women, when they are in the job, they are emotionally connect and they bring something that men usually don't have. And they create a fairer society that you will ever have.
You used to serve on the board of African Science Academy. Why is education in STEM for African girls so important to you?
Education is among, so if you look at African growth, it's 1 digit growth. I mean, it's what, 6% growth year on year that we are getting in Africa. There is no way we can catch up other countries like Europe and US with this percentage growth. The only way for us in Africa to grow and get to the level of development that we see in Europe and the Western world is to have drastic, significant growth. I'm not talking about 6-9%. It's like huge growth. It has to be like a 25% digit growth for us to be there. And the only way for us to do that, we have seen that the blessing we call like having, different mineral things, like having land, didn't really been a blessing for Africa so far. So the only thing to make a difference for us is really through education. Because when you educate women and men both together, you help them think outside the box. They think differently because what would allow Africa to grow is definitely not what has been done in other countries. We are a different continent. We have different needs and we are way behind that we need our people to think differently so that we can create growth. And that's why I strongly believe that the only way for us to advance faster is through education, but even more is through tech education. Because we've seen other countries that have grew drastically because they came with something like that is very different. Like if you look at Korea or you look at China, it's tech that is driving those growth. Tech is the only weapon that you can use to outgrow or outgrow something that you have. So we need to invest that, because then we can create solution and you can fix problems that we have in our continent.
You once said, I chose my husband. I proposed to him. Why was that important to you?
Why will I wait when I know what I want? I mean, why? Doesn't make sense. I'm not a flower to be picked. It's for everything in life. You know what you want. Why are you expecting someone to choose it for you? Choose it by yourself. It's just, for me, it's a no-brainer. I want something, I pick it. I don't wait for someone to decide, okay, can I pick you? It's just waste of time for both of us. Waste of time, waste of money, waste of energy. I'm not into those, fancy things. I'm very clear on what I want. And when I know what I want, I go for it. And that's same for married or having a girlfriend. Know what you want and go for it. Don't wait for someone to give you a blessing.
What legacy do you want to leave behind as a woman leader and African changemaker?
I have a daughter, and she's 6 years old, and I wasn't expecting to have her, really. I only thought that I would have two boys, and I was pretty fine with that. And the reason behind is that I feel it's really tough to be a woman. It's tough in all sense of the word. It's tough because, first of all, people think that we are just objects sometimes, desire objects. It's tough because people undermine us, and it's even tougher when you are a black woman and when you are Muslim. So the three put together is even tougher, you can imagine. Um, I would like, by the time I'm gone, that I would have opened enough door for my daughter when she come back, not to think that it's easier for her, but to fight even more. I would like to inspire my daughter, really, and she feel like mommy has done from A to C, let me do from C to D, so that for her own daughter life become better. I don't think that by the time I'm gone, we will have more parity between gender. But I'm pretty sure that my daughter, by seeing what I have done and how I've inspired people and how much people I have mentored and supported in pushing them to believe that it's possible, that she will do, and she will do more than what I have done. So it's really showing her that it's possible. You can't have all done for you, but you can inspire people to do more than what you have seen when you came in this world.
In your opinion, what makes a good leader in today's Africa?
A good leader would be, there are many components, but one is someone who listen a lot. Someone who listen, take, input from people around him, but make a judgment. And when he make a judgment, he really go for it. Because you can't please everyone. But when you have all the facts, you have to take action. Shouldn't procrastinate it, just take action. So for me, a leader is someone who listen, but is someone who at the same time take action and is decisive about that. And at the same time also accept when he has make mistake and adjust things. It's all about pivoting for me. You will never get things 100% right, but when you know that you are wrong, adjust it quickly. And it's the same about life. I mean, what make the greatest people in this life is people who take action, but when they know that they have make mistake, they correct it quickly. And it's the same with leadership. Know that you have to take decision, move forward. You make a mistake, adjust quickly and move on. Don't wait 2 years to make a change. Make the change right now.
What does success mean to you?
I think success is making sure that my kids are fulfilled in a way that whatever they decide to do in their life, they're happy about that. It's not what mommy has decided or my kids has decided. Or no, not what my husband has said. I want them to live their dream, is to have that freedom to live their dream. And beyond that, also beyond my kids, I think success also is when I look back, I'm proud of what I have achieved with what I had. With all the assets that I had in my hand, I was able to create something bigger than me. That's what success means. I'm fighting with my own self. I'm not fighting with anyone. I'm not competing with anyone. I just want to see, when I look at my story back then, I'm 20,000 better than what I was, 10 or 20 years back. That's what success is for me.